Welcome back to IGN Live at Gamescom 2015, brought to you by Homefront The Revolution. I'm Max Scoville, and joining me is Matt from ZeniMax Online. You guys made the Elder Scrolls Online.
That's right.
And the Elder Scrolls Online has been online for a bit now. Like you launched on PC, you did kind of a beta, kind of a rolling thing, and then it hit consoles.
About 6 weeks ago.
Yeah. So where are we at right now? What's going on?
We just kind of wrapped up our year of launch. As we say, it was actually a little more than a year. So we launched on PC. Then we did about 6 or 8 months of updates and new content to kind of freshen up the PC experience. Then we dropped the required subscription in March, and then we launched on console in 6 weeks ago. So it's been full of rest and relaxation for me for the last year. So.
How's the reception been? Because I mean, I know that it was. I think that. I mean, you're going to get different audiences with a PC MMO versus a console one. How's the console group been? Well,
it's always been a game that was attracting Elder Scrolls players and traditional PC MMO players. So, on PC, it tends to be maybe a little more hardcore, a little more PvP focused people. But it's the reaction to ever since we went through launch phase and we did our updates has been really, really positive, especially on console. Like, the reaction there has been ridiculous. We had to add more server capacity. We had at least a couple weeks of IT exercises, making infrastructure a little tougher.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine. There's some heavy lifting there. This is a large product to ship all at once.
Absolutely. When all those players hit at once, you have to be prepared for it. And it was a very very exciting launch period, certainly.
Now, the model you guys switched to, it's you buy the game and then you. I'm sorry, refresh my memory.
Yeah, you buy the game, you can play forever.
That's it. Yeah.
There's
so
no
there's
more fees.
No subscription fee.
There's a membership that's optional that you can pay per month that gets you some in-game bonuses and you get some free virtual currency included with it. And then we have a virtual currency store on top of that that you can use if you want.
That seems like a kind of best of both worlds type of thing.
It leaves it up to the player.
Yeah. Now, what's the plan for DLC? Because that's what you're here to talk about.
Yeah, so we're looking right now at the Imperial City, which is our first DLC pack after we've gotten through our launch. Now it's time we look at the future. So we just announced a couple of weeks ago we're going to have quarterly DLC. So about every 12 weeks you'll see a DLC pack. This is Imperial City. It's the first one. It broadens the PvP aspect of the game a little bit. PvP is a very important part of Elder Scrolls Online. This kind of brings it into the Imperial City, which if you played Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion, you'll remember fondly. Although here you can see it's a kind of a war zone. It's like it's Stalingrad-style street battles because the three alliances are fighting there, but also there's a Daedric invasion, and so it's kind of there's a mutual enemy you're fighting too. Yeah, so it's PvP with PvE mixed in.
Gotcha. Business as usual in Tamriel. This is. How many thousands of years is this removed from Skyrim?
It's about 1,000 years before Skyrim.
Okay, so you can. I mean, it's going to be familiar, but it's obviously it's.
So it's the same. The Imperial City's far older than that. So it's actually hasn't changed in its architecture a lot from Oblivion. But you can see we scaled it up a little bit because we do more third-person gameplay, and we wanted to make sure there was room for the PvP.
Now, how's the DLC packaged? Is it a campaign or is it a map or
it's in the Crown store. It's in the virtual currency store, so you can just go and purchase it for crowns. It opens up the access to the area. So you can see here's a boss fight. As you fight PvP in the Imperial City, once in a while a big world boss will come in and try to control the situation. So you have the choice of letting him pound your enemies, or you can both fight him, or you can fight each other while he kills you all, which is what happened.
Whoops.
So, but basically you purchase it in the Crown store. It opens up the access points, and then you go into Cyrodiil into your PvP campaign, and then you can go into the Imperial City.
Right
so
on.
It's pretty easy.
Now, okay, so this is an interesting thing. Obviously, we're used to getting packaged console games and then getting DLC announced shortly thereafter, but it's kind of uncommon for them to be MMOs as well. Usually, it's kind of with it's more kind of ethereal normally.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're going very much with a console strategy of just keep content coming regularly. We don't view this as an MMO because that term is loaded with a lot of freight that comes from 2002.
Right.
And it's evolved a little since then, but certainly it's now a PC console game. It's going to get regular updates. We're going to flesh out the map of Tamriel so players get to see more and more of it as more DLC launches.
Do you guys have like a huge top secret long-term plan? packed away somewhere?
We do.
Yeah.
You know, there's different story arcs. This one, Imperial City, as you can see, it's under, you know, demon invasion basically, and it wraps up the storyline that starts in the very beginning in the tutorial of the game when you start. Where this Daedric prince called Moloch Ball steals your soul. You need to get it back.
I had his mace. I liked it.
And it's the same guy. And so as you play through the base game, you know, you learn the story of his invasion, and then in the Imperial City you wrap it up. So it gives us the chance in the next DLC after this one to start new stories.
Okay. Now, obviously there are literal tomes of lore of Elder Scrolls. Actually, you just that lore book just came out, I think. But do you have anything, any kind of corners of the Elder Scrolls universe that it's going to be explored that you could tease for the hardcore fans?
Well, the next DLC after this, I mean, this is cool for the hardcore fans because they get to go to Imperial City for the first time. So for the next expansion, it's Orsinium, which goes to the homeland of the orcs, which players haven't been to since, I believe, Elder Scrolls 2 Daggerfall in the late 90s. So it's another kind of hallmark IP area. So it's cool to be able to go to these areas that have been in older games, but now we get to do it with the cool graphics and the cool production values, and you get to really live in it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And this is available now.
Yep.
All over the place.
The
main game, yeah.
Yeah, the main game is. It's available on both next-gen consoles, PC, Mac. Imperial City is going to be available on PC at the very end of August, and then console about 2 weeks after that.
Cool. Well, what do we got here?
So this is we have public dungeons in the game,
okay.
You know, which are basically you go in and you see other players and you can group organically. This is the public dungeon for the Imperial City, which is the Imperial Sewers, which you remember in Oblivion when you started the game, when Jean-Luc Picard dies in the beginning. Sorry, spoiler alert. But this is the same area, but since this is PvP enabled, it's a giant dungeon, but it has enemies in it. So you can go through and play it like a normal dungeon, but once in a while you run into parties of other people from other alliances.
Now, I remember the emphasis was always Elder Scrolls with friends, you know?
Yep.
Like, it was always kind of just, this is, you know, companionship at its finest or whatever. Have you seen, like, a difference in how people play on console versus on PC in terms of just...
It's amazing. We thought we would see huge difference in play styles, but really it's very similar.
Okay.
You know, the hardware on the next-gen consoles is really good, so it's the same game on both. And if anything, I think PC players tend to be a little more hardcore PvP, but there's certainly some really good PvP console players too. So, you know, it's I think people just like the game.
Now here's a boss fight? Is this whatever?
Yeah, this is some players. There's a portal there that you need to close,
okay.
And Daedra are coming out of it. So it's a boss. It's an encounter, and the boss will spawn shortly.
I want to see the boss. Get the boss out here. Oh, and then of course this is like what I think of when I think Elder Scrolls. Yep. You have the first person stuff, yep. And that's totally, you can switch on the fly.
You can switch totally on the fly. Players kind of tend to gravitate towards one or the other, and but that's fine. Situationally, sometimes you want to be in third person like he is now, and then you switch into first person if you want to be more immersive. But for a fight like this where there's enemies behind you and it's fast paced, you probably want to stay in third person. But you're switching back and forth.
Okay.
Totally seamlessly.
All right. Do you have any plans to add new classes, or you've got an interesting classes? I'm sorry, I have to keep track of various different.
No, that's fine. Yeah, our class system is really wide open. And there he wiped. The whole group wiped. The boss won. You know, our class system is very non-restrictive. So we have some 4 archetypes, but you can really craft through an open ability system many different combinations of weapon and spells, and so you can build your own class almost. Okay. So
it's not like you're going to announce like, oh, you can be a space wizard. Or
no, that would be cool.
Yeah.
Especially Elder Scrolls.
Announce a new class, astronaut. That doesn't make any sense. We're sorry.
But we would announce things like new ability lines, so you can use your existing character and learn new skills, and we'll be doing things like that.
Okay. What's the approach to like new items, new loot and stuff?
So yeah, that's the loot chase is one of the most fun parts of games like these. So we've introduced a whole bunch of cool iconic lore like glass armor and things like that in this. It's Imperial themed because it's the Imperial City. So there's some Imperial armors sets. We have this really cool thing that we call Telvar stones, which is a currency that you get off of enemies that you fight here, and then you can buy armor with the stones. But the cool thing is that if you kill another player, you can take his stones. So. And they can take yours. So it kind of ups the ante a little bit for the PvP system. You know, it gives you, you really don't want to die if you have a lot of stones, if you can buy a cool new armor piece with
Gotcha.
it.
Now, you got glass armor, that's been in Elder Scrolls before,
Yep,
yeah?
of course.
Are you going to be taking any liberties? Like, you're kind of revisiting previous Elder Scrolls games, but in... paving new territory?
Yeah, well, we were careful to pick the time frame of the game because it had to be far enough away that we could tell our own stories, but close enough that the races are the same. And so mostly things like armor and stuff are very similar. You know, we have Dwemer armor and glass armor and ebony and the things that players know and love. So we do introduce them, you know, a little slowly because we want players to be able to go out and find them in new DLC and things like that.
Now, I'm curious... this is, you know, you got a massive world like this. Who's holding the, like, who's in charge of what's canon and what isn't? Like, what's the...
There's essential, well, we have a lore master
right.
at the Lawrence Schick, who's awesome, at the office, but there's a central group at Bethesda Game Studios that did the original games, and they are kind of the keepers of the lore. So we talk with them a lot, making sure that, you know, there's a well-established canon, a well-established cadence of events. So because it's important, because you know, as we work on more and more DLC, we go to different parts of the world, and we need to make sure it's all consistent. Here's a boss.
Okay, this is, yeah, that's a big old boss. What is that?
That is a giant Daedroth. So his special ability is he picks you up and he rips your head off with his, which you'll probably see in a minute. Yeah, he's pretty big. Our concept for enemies here were, since this is Molag Bal's last stand, we took a lot of enemies from other parts of the game and then kind of twisted them and made them much bigger and gave them new abilities. So it's kind of Molag Bal's, you know, trusted lieutenants, and this is one of them.
So, Molag Bal, I forget exactly. He's got those big harpoon things he's sticking in. He's opened up Oblivion gates and stuff.
If obviously you played Oblivion, you'll know that in the end of Oblivion, we found out that Daedric lords can't come to Tamriel, although Mehrunes Dagon did in Oblivion at the very end. But so Molag Bal, being smart, is actually, instead of going to Tamriel, he's throwing out chains and he wants to pull Tamriel to him. So that's what those dark anchors are.
Okay.
And you'll notice it around the city here, you can see it in here, there's a lot of dark anchor stuff because the Imperial City is the middle of Tamriel and it's the most powerful place for the anchors. So the White Gold Tower has this giant one over it, and that's the scene of one of the big dungeons there. This is what happens when you fight bosses. You die.
Oh, man.
But
are we gonna kill this guy? Are we gonna...
Yeah, I think he goes down eventually.
Okay.
Once you learn his mechanics.
There
he
we
is.
go.
Yep.
Nazanikar?
Yeah, I gave long ago gave up trying to pronounce his name.
Yeah.
I call him General N.
I like that. That's very classic video gamey. So yeah, we've this is coming. I'm sorry, the DLC is coming
in a few weeks. It's the end of this month for PC, and then on console it's mid-September.
Okay, and there's going to be ongoing support.
Ongoing support.
You're just gonna kill off Molag Bal entirely? You're gonna get that out of the way, or is it
no spoilers?
Okay,
you need to finish it.
Yeah.
There's two PvE only dungeons included in the DLC for those that don't really want a PvP, and the story in one of those is kind of the wrap-up story of the entire story arc.
Cool, and yeah, you guys are clearly like committed to adding more to this game and fleshing it out.
Yeah. Every quarter we have DLC coming out, and
awesome.
We have we fix bugs and polish as needed.
Yeah, awesome. Well, Matt, thank you so much for coming
My
by
pleasure.
and chatting. We've got lots more Gamescom coverage coming up, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.